The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi guys. Can you guys hear me? Just post in the chat box if you can hear me. Great, great, great. Can you guys see my screen? You can hear me or you can see my screen? Okay, great, awesome. We're gonna wait a couple more minutes and then we'll jump into our webinar. We're supposed to start at 11, so we'll give everyone a couple. Just one more minute. Okay, all right, guys, let's get started. Um, So this webinar, we're basically going to be going over how to set up an algorithm, the differences between our IDE and the Python interpreter, and finally, we're going to go through a momentum trading strategy to show you guys how what you learned in how to set up an algorithm applies to a strategy that you would use in perhaps something that you would want to create. So we're going to be doing more of this as we go on, but if you have any questions, we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So post them, keep them to yourself, and then I'll go through them before we finish. So let's get started. The basics. We're going to go over the basics. The first lesson of our tutorial series, we're going to get you very familiar with the IDE. And we're going to be taking a very project-based approach. So that means everything that you're going to learn is going to be from example. So um, let's get into it right now. So if you guys aren't familiar with what the IDE looks like, you can go into quantopian.com, click My Algorithms, and click New Algorithm and just type my first algorithm. And this is what's going to show up. Now, we have two parts here, and these two parts are going to be essential for any algorithm that you guys are going to create from now and forevermore. We have the initialize method, which is pretty much like Python's init method, where you set up all your variables that you need, like a counter for how many days have passed, how many stocks you have in your current portfolio. And next, after you set up all your variables, you have this thing called handle data, which is where the actual logic of your algorithm is implemented. So um, if you want to see if like Apple is doing better today than 3 months ago, and if it is, then buy, then all your logic needs to be implemented in this handle data method over here. Now, to your right, you have the start and end dates for your backtest and the amount of capital that you want to use. And finally, do you want to run it in daily or minutely mode? Now, you also have two ways of running your algorithm. Build algorithm does a simple build. You don't really get the extensive like volatility measures that you would get if you used run full backtest. So if you did a run full backtest, what it would show you is the complete picture of how your algorithm performed. So I'll just run that for you guys once right now. So it does this start backtest. And we'll just wait for that to finish up. And so you get this screen right here. You get total returns, benchmark returns, alpha, beta, sharp, sortino. You can look at that more closely down here. Finally, and most importantly, you can look at your transactions, how many transactions you made each day, your daily positions and gains, and the logs. So that's it. That's how you run an algorithm. We're actually just going to go into building our first one. Like I mentioned, initialize and handle data. So we're going to write something that creates a list of two stocks, um, and we're going to write an algorithm that goes through each of those stocks and orders one share of that each and every single day. So I'm going to start us off right here. So this is what your algorithm is going to look like when you first create one. And if we want to initialize a list of two stocks, we can call it context.stocks. Now, context is like the Python self. This is where you would store variables that you want to remain persistent throughout the algorithm, and you can increment them as well. So we're gonna create a list, and in Python, as you guys know, you create a list by using brackets. My first stock is gonna be Apple. So you can either type in the SID number. I know them because I've been working around them for a while, but if you just know the ticker name, um, you can go like that, and SID SPY. So we just created two stocks. Now what's going to happen is that our universe of stocks is only going to consist of the SIDs that you initialize here. So when I want to iterate for every stock in my universe, I can go for stock in data. And next I want to check that we have data for that particular stock, because sometimes, especially in minutely mode, there are a few cases where we just don't have trade data for that stock, especially if it's like a liquid one. So you always want to make sure that you have data for your stock, and I do that by calling this if stock in data method right here. And finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to order stock 1. And then what this is going to do is on each and every day, it's going to order one share each of Apple and SPY for stock in data. So instead, if you guys wanted to utilize the list over here, you could do for stock in context.stocks. They would achieve the same purpose because both of these would be in your universe. And I'm going to build it right now. As you can see, because we're not ordering very much and our portfolio started off with like $1 million, we don't really have that much returns. But instead, if I wanted to order target percent, which basically is an order method that allows you to order whatever percentage of your entire portfolio value in that security, we would see a very different picture. I'm going to build that once again. And you can see, I mean, I chose stocks that did very well in the past couple of years, especially Apple. So the returns are going to be pretty good. But that's survivorship bias. We know that ahead of time. What if we wanted to create a universe of stocks, randomly chosen based on dollar volume? What we do is And what this is going to do is actually it's going to take the stocks with the top 1% of stocks with the highest amount of volume. Um, and it's going to give you that in your universe. So if you wanted to avoid survivorship bias and choose a random list of stocks, set universe is a great way to do that. We're actually going to go over this in a later webinar, and I'm not going to get it too in detail with it right now. Just know that you have this method available to you guys. You also can call it in your fetch CSV method, which is how you load in external data. And once again, we're going to go over that in a later series as well. So that's kind of the most basic algorithm that you can set up. Just to reiterate, what we did is we um, initialized a list of two stocks, uh, Apple and SPY, and we ordered one share of those each and every day. Now, um, those are the basics, and for those of you who are familiar with Python, and I hope you are, um, there are some discrepancies between what you can and cannot do in our IDE versus the Python IDE. So we don't allow you to import a discretionary, an arbitrary list of Python modules. For example, if I wanted to import OS here, it would raise an error because we don't allow you to import that method. The same if I was trying to do like type, if you guys know type right here, we won't allow you to do that either. Why? We have a lot of security measures in place. Hope you guys understand, but we have a list of modules that you can import if you look at the Quantopian help section. And this is a great resource for you guys because I'm giving you guys this webinar now, but this help section really has a ton of examples that you can use, basic algorithms that you can clone and copy and modify to what you guys want to do. But let's go into our module imports. So you'll see here that these are the libraries that you can import and anything else you cannot import. So just to clear that up as we get started. Um, so before I move on to our basic momentum strategy, uh, can I just ask you guys if you have any questions so far? How to use intraday data. Can you clarify what you mean by that? So AJ asked, how do we use intraday data? So that question can mean a lot of things. If you're wondering about how we can do minutely, um, what you can do actually is just set this mode right here to minutely. And what this is going to do instead is order uh, one share of our Apple stock and SPY stock every minute, every trading minute that we have. So from 9:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m., it's going to order one share each and every minute. So that's how you would use intraday data. Um, okay, and Chris Kong asked, can you be more specific about order target percent? Okay, so order target percent, what it does is that it looks at your portfolio right now and it orders whatever stock that you're ordering, that percent of it. So let's say you already had 50% of your portfolio in Apple and you try to order uh, again 50% of Apple. What it would do is just not send an order, or it would send an order for 0 shares. So it's smart in that it knows what percent of your portfolio already has that stock, and it only orders the difference between the percentage that you put into the method and the percentage you have in your portfolio. So it's smart like that, and it's great for rebalancing strategies. If you guys have used the algo builder that we have, quantopian.com/algo builder. Um, this this algorithm builder actually uses order target percent. Um, I mean the meaning of it. I'm not. So the meaning of order target percent. Oh, okay. So basically, what it means is order this stock, this percentage. So adjust the position to a target percent of the current portfolio value. Is that a little more clear? Gotcha. Great. Okay. We're actually going to move into the next section of this webinar. We're going to be going through basic momentum trading strategy. One of the interns at Quantopian, David Edwards, he wrote up this amazing momentum strategy with a dynamic universe. And what I'm going to do is I wrote a simpler version of it that we're going to go through right now. Before I show you guys the algorithm, it looks like this. I'm actually just going to explain it a little bit. So if you guys don't know what a momentum trading strategy is, the idea is that when a stock gains momentum in either direction, so let's say Apple's been moving upwards for the past 30 days, the theory is that Apple is going to keep moving up for the next 10 days or whatever you want to define. So and the same for if the price is dropping, you're gonna guess that the price is gonna continue to drop. The adverse of that would be like a mean reversion strategy. But we're gonna go with the momentum trading strategy. It's very widely used. So first, we're gonna define the logic behind our algorithm. And since this is a very basic momentum trading algorithm, our logic is gonna go like this. If the current price is greater than the moving average, so the moving average can be a 30-day moving average, a 60-day moving average, whatever you want to do. We're going to long that security. If the current price is less than the moving average, then short that security. So if Apple's current price is greater than the moving average, we're going to buy it. If it's less, we're going to short it. So that would be like the quintessential basic momentum trading strategy. We're going to do something a little more sophisticated. What we're going to do is actually look at a slow moving average and a fast moving average. In this case, we're going to be looking at the 50-day moving average versus the 200-day moving average. So David Edwards, our brilliant intern who wrote the algorithm, writes that the idea is that stocks with similar 50 and 200-day moving averages are more likely to be fairly valued, and the algo will avoid some of the wild swings that plague momentum strategies. So the 50/200-day crossover is a very common signal, and our logic is going to go like this. If the 50-day moving average is greater than the 200-day moving average, long the security. If the 50-day is less than the 200-day, short the security. Same concept as the basic momentum trading strategy, but we're just going to be comparing two averages versus the current price and an average. Is that clear for everyone? Can I clarify anything before we move on? Oh, so Chris Kong, I'm just going to go through your questions right now. We're actually going to be using a dynamic universe. So remember what I said before, how you can set up a random universe of stocks so we can avoid survivorship bias. We're going to be using that here. So it's not going to be two stocks. It's going to be um, the top 0.5% of securities with the highest trading volume. Great, awesome. So let's start it off. Let me just remove that right there. Okay, so what we're gonna do up top first is we're gonna be doing some time manipulations. So we're going to import date time and time delta. Datetime is a very common Python module for manipulating dates. Very easy to use. Highly suggest you guys get comfortable with it. And NumPy, Pandas is based off of NumPy. Also suggest that you guys get very familiar with NumPy. It allows you to do like linear regressions, all these statistical methods very easily that you won't have to write code for. And before I begin, I want to mention that because our backtester is based off pandas and numpy, um, a lot of the statistical calculations that you guys want to do is made extremely simple. Um, if you guys know the right methods to use. So I recommend checking out NumPy, Pandas, SciPy. Very, very useful modules. So let's get started. Like I mentioned before in the first part of this webinar, we have our initialize method where you set up all the variables that you need. And next you have the handle data method, which actually contains the logic of your algorithm. So first what we're going to do is we're going to initialize our universe of stocks. Now, one way, like I mentioned before, to go about doing this is to go like context.stocks equals sid of Apple. And what that would do, sorry, sid of Apple. And what this is going to do, what this would do if you didn't have this line of code right here, is that you would only be using Apple for any security, any trades that you would be using. But we don't want that. We want to test it against a random universe of stocks. So instead, I'm going to use set universe, and this dollar volume universe. What it's going to do is going to take the top 5%, top 0.5% of highest trading volume stocks, and set that as a universe. Once again, I'm going to go over this later webinar. I'm just putting it out there. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to define the number of stocks that we're going to go long. Next, we're going to define the number of stocks that we're going to go short. I did 5-5. So it's going to be, hopefully, it's going to be a dollar neutral strategy in that we're going to go long and short the same amount. Next, we're going to, because we're running this in minutely mode, we need to figure out how many days, after how many days do I want to rebalance my strategy? You could do it. You could do it like I want to rebalance my strategy every minute. I want to rebalance my strategy every day. I want to rebalance my strategy every month. We're gonna do 10 days here. We normally don't recommend. Well, actually, we don't recommend anything. But if you're gonna do it every minute, just know that you're gonna have a lot of commission costs, so just be aware. So context that rebalance state, what this variable is going to hold, and you'll see later on, is that it's actually going to hold the last date that we rebalanced, and we're going to use context that rebalance days to see how many days since the rebalance date have passed, and if it's greater than context that rebalance days, we're going to rebalance our algorithm. So that's initialized, and that gets called before the algorithm even starts running. Next, we're going to go into handle data. Handle data. Let's go through. We're going to go through this step by step. Write down your questions because at the end, after I'm done going through this, I'm going to go through your questions and answer them all. So, handle data. Like I mentioned before, if context.rebalance state does not equal none, so what this is saying is that if it's not the first time we've ever run this algorithm because we initialized it as none, if it is not none, we're going to check if if the last time we rebalance, if 10 days have passed since the last time we rebalance. And we can check that by using this time delta function, which actually just takes a datetime object, which is what context.rebalance date is, adds 10 days to it. You can see days equals context.rebalance days, and creates the next date. And we're going to use this here. So if the current day equals next date, we're going to rebalance. And if not, we're just going to return and say what this return does is that it just pretty much stops that bar of the trading strategy and it just kind of pops out. So that's that. Next, what we need to do, we need to get our moving averages, and an easy way to do that is by using our history method. We're also going to go in depth on how to use the history method in a later webinar. But for now, realize that I just want you guys to understand that history, what it does is that it queries for the last 200 bars of data, and by bar I mean either days or minutes. So right now I'm querying for the last 200 days of prices, 200 days of prices, and I'm going to store that in historical data. History returns a data frame, and historical data is going to hold that data frame. Now remember that we needed a 50-day moving average as well as a 200-day moving average. The 200-day moving average is easy because we just got 200 days of data, so we can just call dot mean on historical data. But the 50-day moving average, what we can do is actually just use the 200 days that we got and get the 50 most recent days of that and call mean on that. So what I'm doing is I'm finding the most recent 50 days by calling tail on that data frame, which is historical data, and I'm calling mean on that. And finally, how I'm going to check if the 50-day moving average is greater than the 200 moving average is that I'm going to divide 50-day by 200-day and minus 1. So if it's greater than 0, we have that 50-day is greater. If it's less than, we have that it's less. Next, we're gonna drop all the nans. So a nan is when we don't have data. So if let's say a stock started trading on September 1st, 2008, um, we're obviously not gonna have 200 days of data for that because it started trading on 2008. So what we do is we fill your historical data with nans. And we don't want that. So I'm just going to drop them all using this drop now. Finally, I'm going to sort it in ascending order. Next, because we're going to go long the top five. We're going to go long 5 stocks that have a 50-day moving average greater than 200-day moving average, and we're going to go short 5 stocks that have a 50-day moving average less than a 200-day moving average. We can do that. We can find which stocks that we want to go buy and short by doing this. So our diff here actually contains the ratio that we got from here, and we're gonna see which one of those are greater than 0, which ones are less. Um, a very easy way to do that. Next, we're going to create the weights for each of our securities. So what I'm doing here is that I am taking basically I'm going to take the amount of stocks that we have in context.stocks along and divide 1 by that. So we get 20% in each security that we're going to long and 20% in each security that we're going to short. I'm doing this minimum thing to account for when the amount of stocks that we want to buy, we don't have enough, then we're going to distribute the weight equally then. Finally, we're going to look at our buys and sells, and we're going to select the securities that are just above the slow moving average, so that are just above the difference, because we don't want something where the 50-day moving average is like 500 times greater than the 200-day moving average. We just want something that's kind of greater and kind of less, and that's what we're doing in this section of code right here. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna make this code freely available. So, and I'm actually gonna get forum posts going, so you guys can post and ask questions again there. So just for now, I'm gonna tell you guys that we're just selecting securities just above and below the moving average. And finally, we're gonna create a stop loss for each security. Just because we can create a stop order so we can get the order fills that we want. And finally, we're going to go through each of the securities within our universe. And if they belong in the cells list that we created up here, right here, we're going to short them that weight. And if they belong in the buy weight, in the buy list that we created up here, we're going to go long them. And if any security is there that we don't have either in our buys or sells list, we're just going to order zero amount of those shares and exit any positions that we might have in that security. Finally, we're going to record the amount of weight that we use for each of those, so the long weight and the short weight. I know that was a lot to take in. That's it gets a little bit of time to get used to, but that's our basic momentum trading strategy. I'm actually going to build this for you guys so you guys can see what it looks like. The minutely strategies definitely take a little bit more time than the daily, but you get a little level of granularity that you won't really get elsewhere. So, um, whoa, I'm sorry, something just went wrong. I'm not quite sure what. Let me try refreshing. There we go. So I guess my internet connection was just off. And we're back testing now, and that's it. Um, Yeah, Chris, I realize that this is a lot of information taken in such a short time. So right now, what we're actually going to do is we're going to start doing a Q&A, and we're going to do this Q&A for maybe the next 10 to 20 minutes. So whatever questions you guys have, can you start posting it in? And I will clarify anything about this algorithm that you guys have. Oh, and along with the algorithm, with the code itself, I'm going to be sending you guys this outline, this written up guide that I have for this webinar, so you guys can look at that as well. So do we have any questions? So our first question is, what part of the code is dealing with the NumPy stuff? Let me find NumPy. Actually, I'm not using NumPy here. I'm sorry. But if you wanted to, you could call like numpy.mean here, and it would essentially do the exact same thing. Pandas uses NumPy under the hood, so I guess we're kind of doing NumPy stuff, but we're not explicitly dealing with it here. Sorry, should have clarified. Uh, More questions? And the algorithm's still running over here, by the way. I'm going to leave the question section open for another couple minutes. If we don't have any, we will exit this and I'll post up the forum and the guide so you guys can take a closer look at the code. Oh, sorry, just got a ton of questions. Still not quite sure about set universe. Um, so I'll try to answer it for you now. We're gonna have another webinar where we go over this, but set universe. So how the backtester works is that you need you need stocks in your universe that you need to order with. So if you want to test a strategy, you need securities to test them against. And what set universe does is that it provides you, I guess if there's anything that you need to take away, Set Universe provides you with a random list of stocks that you can backtest your strategy against. And you can go through each of those stocks by saying for stock in data, print stock. This is going to show you all the stocks that are randomly selected from this Set Universe method. Next question. Can I do something like at a particular time of the day? Yes, you absolutely can. You can call if get date. So AJ, this is for you. You can call if get datetime equals. Um, so I'm gonna write all these questions down actually, so I can. Yeah, if get datetime dot minute equals 30, whatever. Order now. Or you can do it at get datetime dot hour, hour equals 30. Or by the way, you will also have to convert it into Eastern time, which I'll show you at. So yeah, so um, there are a lot of forum posts on how to convert something into Eastern time. Basically, what you have to do is import pits. Eastern time equals pits dot time zone US/Eastern. And Eastern dot localize get daytime. And what you can do is this if time dot hour equals 10. This is what this is going to do is if the hour is 10 o'clock, you're going to execute whatever code that you have. So great question. I'm actually just going to label this AJ daytime. Great. Trevor Drummond, I hope I'm saying that right. What are some recommended resources on NumPy, Pandas, SciPy, especially something relevant to Quantopian? Amazing question. We have actually um, a ton of resources. So Trevor, actually, what I'm gonna do is in the forum post that I'm gonna follow up this with, I'm going to give you a list of resources that you can access and you can look at closely. I hope I hope that works for you. Let me just write that down. Trevor, list of resources. Okay. AJ asked, I want to make some decision. Okay, 10 a.m. Uh, Tom Schmidt asked, how would I avoid certain time rules such as the market day opening? You would actually do the same thing as I showed AJ here. So you would do like if time dot hour does not equal 9, and then you would order here. I hope you can see that right here. Chris Kong, how many in the set? So Chris, there's actually, if you go to the Quantopian help section, we talk about, and if you, I'm going to do another class on this, but if you want to take a closer look right now, there is something called, we have set universe here, and we reference it pretty extensively. I'm going to post it in the chat section, so you can take a closer look at that. It goes through pretty in depth. Yeah. I got an email about this webinar. Where do I find and sign up for the other ones? Uh, we're going to send more emails about webinar, and I will keep the forum post updated and have it be like an interactive class where you guys can post up your questions and examples. And before we end this, I'm also going to say that there's a homework assignment, quote unquote homework assignment for this. So I'll post that up as well and hope you guys can work that. Oh, Chris, I'm sorry. Yeah. Can I get n minute bar at that time of day? Yes, absolutely, AJ. So AJ, you can do if time dot minute equals 30. Very simple to use. Um, and order here. That's it, really. Okay. Do we have any more? Oh, AJ again. Can I use close? Of course you can. So if you get the current price, so price equals data of stock that, and then you have everything here actually, whatever you want to do. So you have open price, high, low, moving average, price, return, standard dev, close price, everything. So data, you call data of context, whatever stock that you're doing, dot price. So you could do for stock and data for price equals context dot stock dot open price. Yep. Tom Schmidt. Any thought given to cleaning up comment slash uncomment command? Kind of messy. So I don't know how you guys do comment slash uncomment. I have a MacBook, so I do command and then forward slash. So Oh, you talk about the algorithm. I'm gonna clean this up before I give it to you guys, so a lot of the comments here won't be here. It's gonna be like nicely formatted and easy to use. So, we got any more questions? I'm gonna leave it up to 11:40. 3 more minutes. 2 more minutes. If you guys are good, you guys can just start exiting. That's fine too. Thanks. Yeah, thank you guys for showing up. This is the first part in a long series, so we're gonna get you guys up to speed. So I'll just leave this open for 1 more minute and then close it down. All right, guys. Thank you for coming to this webinar. Oh, just kidding. We just got this. It seems that this strategy is not very good. No, it's not. This is we actually I tested this during the recession, so not a great time to test it. If you tested this later, it actually does okay. So um, yeah, I found commenting command. I'm actually not sure about that. We can talk about that later. But thank you guys for showing up to this webinar. Um, thank you. We're gonna be doing more. I'm gonna be posting up all the material from this so you guys will have it. Uh, so yeah, no problem, dude. Thank you.